The Hellenistic tradition comes from here. Hellenism is what conquered the world before Rome. So when we're reading about Origen, we're reading about a guy from Alexandria. Alexandria's right here. Jerusalem's right next to my head. So they were closer to Jerusalem, but clearly they're on the Mediterranean Sea. They can sail. But Alexandria's where the center of learning is. They don't put the library in Athens. They put it in Alexandria. Alexander the Great conquered Egypt, and that's why Alexandria, Egypt is Alexandria, Egypt. I've been there before. So the Greeks forced everyone to speak Greek, remember? They were persecuting the Maccabees over them speaking Hebrew, and they made everyone in Jerusalem speak Greek. For some reason, Mel Gibson wants us all to think that they were speaking Aramaic, which they were speaking Aramaic where I am right now. They spoke Aramaic and Greek. So there were two languages initially, right? Greek and Aramaic, but I guess there was Hebrew before, and then it turned into Arabic, right? And when I wrote the Quran, did I standardize the Arabic language? Yeah, just like the King James Version standardized the English language. So we all know that Germanic languages are where English comes from, and a lot of languages come from. They're all Greek, and I think that all the languages are trying to cover up Greek. So if you know English enough, Greek basically, because I know every English word. No one knows as many English words as me, pretty much. You have to be a computer scientist from Harvard, basically. And you have to be a Christian obsessed with Christian stuff, and you have to have studied Greek and Arabic. So this guy teaches very different things than the modern Christian church. At the top, you see where it has Lord circled? The Lord does not know everyone but those who are his. He doesn't even pay attention to you unless you're one of his. So I'm still on 73 where we just read through where it was talking about your signs they did not see, and then we'll stop sending prophets to you. You're going to stop having the Holy Spirit is what Origen claims about it. Let's read 5. You are the ones who controlled the sea in your power. According to a simpler interpretation, the maker of the universe controlled the sea and gave a great power to the sea in particular, saying to it, you shall come just this far and your waves shall be smashed into you. That's from the book of Job. But according to a spiritual interpretation, the sea is the life of human beings, even when it is full of many waves, since the rest of the wording shows that this fits better, that is, to be controlled by God. The sea is also a strong antagonist to the human race, and it is impossible while in this life not to be in the sea. I've talked about it. I think I might have poetry about it, or it might be in my book, fighting the sea. You're swinging at the waves. It's so hard to fight the sea. And if you've ever been in the ocean, it's so hard to control where you're going sometime. You're trying to go, but the sea's there. So when it's an antagonist, it's against you. Protagonist is the hero, or the person that's the center of the story. Antagonist is the person that's against that person. The good steersman struggles with the opposing winds and stands against the waves flying at him, and does not give up the boat, but keeps at his task while devoting himself with prayer. So opposing winds would be what? It comes from pneumata, which pneuma, remember we're talking about the spirit, right? But this guy would say that you have an opposing wind in your heart. You have your heart is an opposing wind to the spirit, to the kidneys, which is the actual Holy Spirit trying to talk to you, but then your heart gets in the way. And that's why you have to have the wisdom of God to train you to know when the winds are correct and when the winds are wrong. A steersman is who's controlling a boat. That's a steersman. It's who's steering. So according to our logos, one who has mastered steering, having logos in him as a steersman, takes on all the winds, either bodily ones or anything outside that tests him. He bears his own tiller and moves his hand so that he gives way to nothing, but rather stands fast in the storm of life and appears to be in a calm and peaceful state, able to steer himself whatever happens. So that's the goal of what you're training yourself to be right? Because the Logos is more than the Holy Spirit, right? The Logos is the teachings. The Logos is the words that have come to us. So when you have wisdom in you, from the Bible, because you study the Bible so much, is it in you? Is the wisdom of Izu's book, Sirach, is that book in me? I can't get it out of me. I've read it too many times. I always teach it. A tiller is a person that's it's a device used to till soil, to prepare it to be planted for food, for a garden, you're tilling the soil. But even in stormy weather and in battle, why are according to us, are the holy blessed, because they have become good steersmen in the storms, in troubles extraordinary, in beatings extraordinarily, in prison extraordinarily often. Those, to be sure, those who have received from the Jews 40 save one, because they have been beaten with rods 3 times, because they were stoned, because they were shipwrecked, because they endured danger in a desert, like because they had to go into hiding, like in a dangerous place. So when you've experienced hard things, like it's easier to deal with like a storm, like, or like with like, because sometimes like the winds inside your head, like the spirit inside your head is like so loud you will never hear the Holy Spirit. And like when you have good training, you can stay calm in the storm. Do you see their steering logos, how they had it? Because of it, in whatever storms occurred, they did not suffer shipwreck. But in all of these, they sailed straight through. They reasoned well until they reached the haven of God's will. This is on the account of you are the one who controlled the sea in your power. Let's just skip the underlined portion right there. It says, whenever you are plotted against by adverse powers, since that an unseen serpent is scheming against you, and a snake as well. All right, so a serpent and a snake are not the same thing. The Catholic Bible calls a serpent in that past in Revelation, it's a dragon, but it's also a serpent in Psalm 73, which is Psalm 74. If you have a regular Bible, I have a Septuagint. They changed the Psalm so we couldn't find out which one's which. All right, so here's the New American Standard Bible. Let's look at 13. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou didst break the heads of the sea monsters in the water. So that's not a serpent, which, remember, the serpent's from Genesis, right? It's from Genesis 3. I looked it up. It uses serpent. It doesn't use snake. But Origen uses serpent and snake on purpose, I think, because he knows you're going to do that. So here we're going to the Catholic Bible where it says 13, you divided the sea by your might, you broke the heads of dragons in the water. So they're using dragon also, just like the Septuagint. But in this guy's translation, he's using serpent. And I looked it up, and Revelation uses serpent. No, Revelation is using dragon there, but serpent's from Genesis 3. Look at verse 2. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard, its feet like a bear, and its mouth like a lion's mouth. And the dragon gave it his power and his throne and great authority. Origen basically says that the serpents for him are the sin, are sin, and the sins he lists are thoughtlessness, cowardice, irreverence, and greed. So like not showing respect, being a wuss, not thinking about like others, and being super greedy. And I really like his sins that much that's how he defines the heads of the serpent. So he says wicked calculations come out of the heart, and this is like before the Bible was written. And remember how we were reading what David said? Verse 7 says, I will bless the Lord who makes me understand. Moreover, until night my kidneys instructed me, which kidneys in their teaching on the Logos is the Holy Spirit, right? Origen tells us that. Well, he basically implies it. So this is the Catholic version. It says, I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. That's 7. So he's saying my heart instructs, David is saying my heart instructs me. And let's see what Origen just said about that. You see the left where it says brain, it's pointing to something. That's what I'm going to talk about. But when evil rises up against the governing faculties from within, for wicked calculations come out of the heart, it again summons God to send the Logos to you. So like sometimes the Logos will step in because it's like your heart's messing up. I need to fix this. So like the Logos would be from the kidneys, right? And the heart would like be what messes up the Logos. But a sea monster is a pretty difficult translation to get to from dragon, right? It's pretty far. But serpent is in the Old Testament that much. Like, we all know the serpent, that's Satan, right? The serpent has the knowledge of good and evil, right? That's what the serpent does. But clearly the serpent, like, in his mind is different. In Origen's mind is different. But, yeah. All right, that's all I'm talking about.